So yeah, I guess the next thing is to kind of segue a little bit with the story. So when does it start to like evolve when you get your own real preferences for music and you start to kind of take it from it's around you to you start to form it more around your identity?
For sure. So like I said, like around probably like 10 or 11. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to hang out with my family a lot, and my first cousin, who really was like my brother. He was really like my older brother, and he actually introduced me to rap music. So like, there used to be a radio show called WBLS 107.5 and 98.7 Kiss FM with Red Alert. And this is like mid late 80s, like 87, 88. And they used to have these shows late night. The only time you could hear rap on the radio was between 10 and like 3 in the morning, Fridays and Saturday nights. It's the only time. Wasn't on the radio any other time. MTV wasn't really playing rap videos, like Video Music Box in our area, in the tri-state area. Shout out to Uncle Ralph, VJ Ralph McDaniels. He used to have a video show that played rap videos. My cousin was into it, and that was the thing. Whenever my cousin kind of was into, he introduced me to, and I kind of got into it. So like, he played one night. We were listening to the radio. He turns it on, and all of a sudden, there's a song by a group called Stop the Violence Movement, started by KRS-One. And the song Self Destruction came on, and it blew me away because I'd never heard anything that fucking hard and that fucking raw. But also, I'm used to people singing, screaming, whatever. I'd never heard these cats. It sounded like they were spitting poems, but they were spitting it like rhythmically, and it was like over this like these hard ass drums, and everyone sounded different. And there was like 6 or 7 different MCs on that record. So I'm bugging out. Like it starts out with KRS-One, and then I think it went into I think it goes to MC Light, Kumo D's on that record, Stetsasonics, like all of these like legendary artists that I didn't know. I didn't know any of these people when I heard the record, but they just sounded iconic. They just sounded like, who are you? What are you talking about? And it was just ill how they were just kind of like putting words together, and I was hooked. I heard Self Destruction, and all of a sudden, it was like I couldn't get enough. Whatever little, allowance money I could get. Anytime my cousin, my first rap show, I was 12 years old, and we went to see Twin Hype, MC Light, and the Biz at a high school football field that was down the street from my grandma's. And in the summertime, I used to live there. It was basically like summer camp. My grandma would look after us for like a few weeks at a time, and we went to a rap. I was like 13 or 14 by myself, me and my cousin. Dude actually pulled out a shotgun in the crowd at the end of it, and we all had to like fucking like jet. But like, I was just fiending for rap music at that point. Once around, so like around junior high, is when I just started to just as much rap as I could get. Every time I would go to the store just looking for tapes, I started recording the radio shows every Friday and Saturday. I used to have like the double deck like boombox, like it looks like basically like this.
Stop! Nobody's pulled down a boombox. That's a
Yeah.
first.
Oh yeah, but the one I had when I was a kid was doper than this one even. Well, not as dope, but this one is actually doper because you can actually record tape to MP3. But that's another podcast. But that's the shout outs to my wife. That was a birthday gift for my wife.
Yeah, that's hype as fuck.
But I had like the old school big blaster 2 tape deck. You can dub one side and play the other. I was recording hours of radio shows of hip hop and just listening to it over and over and over again. Every time I get a tape, I get Big Daddy. Big Daddy Kane was a huge early influence on me, and like Kid and Play. And I would just sit there in my room for hours and just play these records over and over again. Memorize. I had so many rap records memorized, dude. I had like 30 rap records, just like not songs, like albums. Like I could fucking do the entire album just like verbatim because I just listened over and over and over again. It was crazy.
Yeah, I respect that. That's that shit that when you're a teenager you do, and then you grew up and you wish you could replicate, and it's way harder.
Yeah. Well, now all of my own fucking songs are in my head, so I barely can remember any other songs of my own. But yeah, that's when I really started to develop my own taste. And the funny thing is I didn't really stop listening to rock music. It just became more sophisticated what I was looking for, and I was looking for things that kind of had the same sort of like raw, just feel. Because once I got older, I realized like a lot of the hairband stuff was kind of cheesy. It was like it was just wild cheesy. You know, and you're a little kid, so you're just like, okay. Now I'm like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. So I started to get into more stuff, and then some of my friends who were like really like heads of rock were started putting me on this stuff like Sepultura and Tool.
Okay.
Yeah, Metallica, stuff
so
like
you're
that.
getting into early hip hop and early Tool at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's funny. I know you got a journey we're going on, but to fast forward, like when I started like really studying the culture of hip hop and the history of it, I realized like how many overlays between like the punk movement in the 80s and hip hop had, and like so much of the ethos was very similar. Clearly they came from different places, they had different influences, they definitely had different origins, but the same sort of like DIY, I don't follow the rules, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna make what the fuck I'm gonna make, which made sense when I realized like how many of those cats, in the downtown scene in New York were just vibing with each other and like digging each other's stuff. So like I started to kind of pick up other there was somebody in my house, other musicians and other artists that were in that, regardless of the genre. So I started getting people like Rage Against the Machine, stuff like that, because I was looking for that. I was looking for that just like no nonsense, I don't give a fuck, just raw like sound. And I was trying to sort of like find how I could do that, because that was the thing. Like I'm super conscious, right? Like I'm aware that I'm some little kid from Jersey. I'm from basically a middle class home. Both my parents college educated. They got like civil servant jobs. My cousin's from the hood. My cousin's like straight out of Newark, had a crew, all of that stuff. Like my uncle's into that. But that's not like my reality. And when I'm listening to these records, I'm seeing that reality on record. But I have like my own living reference, because here's my cousin doing that shit and around that shit and showing me that stuff. So I'm like, I'm not that. So how do I rep? So for a long time, even though I love the music, I was really apprehensive about doing it, because again, going back to stereotypes a little bit, rap to me was like, okay, it's street. That's it. That's the only thing. And if you're not a hustler, if you're not a player, if you're not like just like a tough guy, like you have to be talking about those things. And I didn't understand that until I started to listen to native tongues. And even though there was like Kid and Play in the 80s, Kid and Play was a little corny too. Kid and Play was kind of considered sort of like a little kitschy. Like cats like, they cool and all. It's funny how a lot of things have changed. Like they're clearly dope. I love them still, but it's funny how things like change over time. But
big facts.
Yeah.
Just ask anybody my age about the Backstreet Boys and watch how they flip scripts.
There you go. But basically, yeah. Like I really started to realize that like all you had to do to really be involved in hip hop and rap specifically was you just had to be real about who you were, and you had to be nice. Like you had to have skills. You had to know how to have that gift of gab, understand how to connect with people, how to get people hyped. But you didn't have to put on a front like, well, I'm the toughest guy in the room. You just had to know you just had to have game. You had to know how to use the language and have some rhythm, and be interesting and tell a story. And if you could do that, and that's what De La Soul showed me, that's what Tribe showed me. It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
I was gonna ask about De La Soul, because if I recall correctly, they were one of the first like early. We're just middle class dudes rappers.
Yeah, on the low, they didn't make it. They made it pretty clear. Like, yeah, we're from Long Island, and we're not we're not from that, But at the same time, they also made it feel like in De La Soul is Dead, like there's a couple of joints and skits where they make it clear, like, but don't play us, we'll fuck you up though, like, which is the thing, right? Because that's the one thing I learned growing up too. Like, I wasn't a punk, I wasn't a tough guy, but I wasn't gonna just let you just like walk all over me. And I learned that from my cousin. So like, when we'd hang out, you know, cats hear how I talk or they saw what I was wearing and like, oh, we can get this dude. And I had to kind of show them like, nah, bro, like I'm not from here, but I didn't just show up yesterday. Like, don't fuck with me. And you get that respect. And those are the types of things I learned where it's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to be Cool G Rap or you know, Freddy the Fox and bow up. I don't have to like look like I'm like on the block. I just have to really know who the fuck I am and make sure people understand like I'm not to be played with, and I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. The biggest key though was you just had to be nice. You had to have that gift of gab. You had to know how to get in front of people and make them laugh or make like, oh, did you just hear what he said? Like all of that. And like playing there's this game called The Dozens, and my cousin showed me that, and just like, you know, honestly, him
Yo, can you
him
break
toughed me
down
up.
The Dozens? I know what it is, but just it'd be better if you break.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, basically, The Dozens is I'm taking some old school nigga now. It's basically like hiking. Like, I'm gonna say some shit to kind of like clown on you, to make fun of you. I might be like, yo, bro, like, why you got like a pink hat on, man? You look like a fucking Stay Puft Marshmallow dude. Like, why you over here looking like Bill and Ted and shit in the damn video? Like, this is wild. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not ZZ Top, bro. What's going on with the beard, dude? Like, and you would just, and it would be all friendly, right? You just go back and forth, like, oh, well, you Samuel L. Jackson looking motherfucker. Look at you, your beard's half on, look like a fucking lawn that didn't get watered and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you would just, and the whole point was just like to get who's gonna get the best joke off, right? And it's changed a little bit over time, but it used to be, and this is kind of where freestyling sort of for me also kind of came into fore, because it was sort of like the whole point, or battling I should say, the whole point was I gotta talk about what's in front of me. It's not about me knowing your history or having some inside shit on you or like making up something. I gotta look at you right in front of me and basically break you down. And whoever does that the best basically wins. And that shit could go on forever. Like, if you like, and my cousin was great. I wasn't honestly, I wasn't that great at it when I was a kid. But like, I got better with time because you had to. Because cats, you get hiked on for hours. Like, you might not get a word in for 2 hours. Cats, if they're really making jokes on you really bad, like, it's bad. And you know, most of the time when you're hanging out, it's a mixed crowd. It's not just you and your boy. It's a girl you like. It's a dude you rivals with. So like, you don't want to come off like whatever. So you got to figure out quick how to like get people off you. You know what I'm saying? And show that like you can stick up for yourself. It wasn't always about like, okay, I gotta fight you and fuck you up. Sometimes it's just like, I gotta show that you're not a clown, that you can't get picked with, and that you had the wit to come back at somebody and get them off you. Because that was the best thing in the world, when someone, you know, they say something about your shirt, like, yo man, you got this Pong shirt on in the fucking video, man. What the fuck, you from 1972, bro? And if I can flip that on you and get you off me, oh, you talking about my dirty ass shirt, bro, but look at you don't even fucking have a shirt on. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, now we're not talking about my shirt, we're talking about the fact that you don't got one on. You know what I'm saying? So it's and that type of sort of like mentality is something I had to like grow, because that wasn't the environment that I was in and what I was from.
That's a big time knowledge nugget still. Sometimes it takes talking to the educator types to get that completely left field explanation that breaks the same shit down that the next 20 people can break down, but just a bit differently. But like, sometimes you listen to like if you ever go through the albums in the mid 90s, like not the huge ones, but most of the other ones. Yeah, so like there's like 12 songs. 3 of them will be about shit, and like 9 of them are talking shit. But then if you think about it from the perspective of where it all comes from and how people develop their skills, and if y'all spending hours upon end talking shit in the room, it just makes sense that everybody's gonna be excellent shit talkers on wax. But like that's like to me such a cool epiphany.